Arcade Heroes.
Greetings, it's Adam with ArcadeHeroes.com, and we've got a new game to discuss today. But before I get into that, a disclaimer. The game that we're going to discuss, it's been spotted on what's called location test. A location test is an arcade term or arcade industry term for a public beta. And arcade developers have always done these sorts of things. In the United States, they always do them secretively. They never make a public announcement, or rarely they do. Over in Japan, they love to do that, as they'll use both secret and public location tests. But the public tests in Japan are used as kind of a marketing tool to promote the game and also just see how far the hype can go. But again, we don't do that in the United States. They just take a game when it's complete enough, put it out on location, and just see how it does when it's amongst all the other games that might be out there. And so, as you might have assumed, if not from the title, of course you would know from the title already what it is, but this is a Bandai Namco game, and this is a sequel to a game that came out way back in 2010, 12 years ago, almost 13 at this point, called Dead Heat. And so here's the original Dead Heat. If you had never played that one, as I recall, it was, from what the developers had told me at the time, they were trying to find something that was closer to the Fast and Furious arcade games, which were the #1 racing game back in those days, but not something quite as serious as Maximum Tune. So it is based on certain Maximum Tune physics. It also uses the Ghost system. It's all offline, of course, so anybody that played on the game, their ghost would be recorded, and then when somebody would come later and play, the AI cars would actually be pre-recorded ghosts. And so that was a way to do Maximum Tune for more casual players, don't have the part system or the story system and all that stuff. And also it had 4 tracks, and each one was based on a real world map. The developers told me that they went to each city, took a map and modeled everything, taking pictures and stuff to make it as realistic as possible according to what their technology could handle at the time, and go from there. Now, there was a pseudo sequel to Dead Heat back in 2013. However, as far as I'm aware, it kind of bombed on the market, as I only saw it once or twice at a trade show, and then since then I only ever saw it once out on location, but it seems to be very, very rare, and that is Dead Heat Riders. And now I should throw out that if I close my window here, you'll see that I do have a video of this on my channel as well, where I picked up Niren, which was released in 2008 by Namco. This is the only other motorcycle racing game that they've done in recent memory, and so that's a fun one though. But anyways, so yeah, those are the previous games. The new one is called Dead Heat Unleashed, and so hat tip to Jay Devi, who discovered this trademark, and this is the European Union trademark. And I guess comparing the logos to each other, the new one, oops, let me close that. The new one has lightning bolts, and of course it says Unleashed on it. Although I recall that sometimes Namco would call the original Dead Heat Street Racing, even though the logo didn't say that. But Dead Heat Unleashed sounds just fine to me. So you can call this Dead Heat 2 or maybe Dead Heat 2.5 because of Dead Heat Riders. Now, could this replace one of Namco's current selling racing games? It's possible. Maybe likely that Mario Kart DX is on the way out, just because this game was released back in 2013, and yeah, that's a very long time to be on the market in any market for being actively produced and manufactured. And so I wouldn't be surprised on it if that's the one that it replaces and they keep Maximum Tune 5DX Plus, which I have sitting right here, but won't know for sure. My best guess is that this Dead Heat Unleashed will be at IAPA 2022. 99.9% certainty on that one. Now, I did reach out to Namco about this after JDevi pointed me to the information, but they did not respond, and so that is normal, but everything that I'm using here is public, and we do have video footage of this as well. And so thanks to this person, Jasmine Cross, on Instagram. Now this one doesn't look like it, but they were at this group, this family, person, friends, I don't know, was at Dave & Buster's, and on this one right here we have footage of Dead Heat Unleashed in action. And I believe this is at the Dave & Buster's in Addison, Illinois. Now, unfortunately, the person filming did not focus mostly on the screen, so they kind of cut it off here and there. You can see that it uses the Namcam system still. And I also think previously it had mentioned something about crowd your rivals to build up your ultimate heat, which looks like it's the kind of the nitrous or the heat gauge there at the bottom of the screen, and then I would assume you would push a boost button and that would give you a boost. Lots of drifting going on there. Unfortunately, since I don't have any more details than this particular video and the trademark, we don't know how many tracks this has, how many licensed cars it has, although I would assume that it would have all licensed vehicles like the previous Dead Heat did, as well as Maximum Tune. And I would also assume that, like the previous Dead Heat, that it was all the tracks are based upon real cities and all that as before, and also would still use Ghost. Now, looking at the control panel here, you can see that that is definitely prototype. That's not final. It almost looks like they're using a mold similar to the Maximum Tune one, not exactly though, but like right here you can see a spot where the Bandai Passport card reader would normally be. I would doubt that they would use that in this game, as the only US game that they've used that on in recent memory is the Maximum Tune series. They did not use Bandai Passport here in the States for the original Dead Heat. As I recall, I think they might have used it on the Dead Heat in Japan. There was also a 3D version of Dead Heat that only came out in Japan, where it had these glasses that were attached to the cabinet and you would pull them down in front of your face. It was kind of odd, but never seen one show up over here. But that's all we learned. But granted, thanks to this video, even though it's not the best shot, I don't know why they focus so much on the seat and the rider there, but still it's better than nothing, or it's better than a blurry shot of, say, something in the background. Like oftentimes JDevi has shared photos with me where he catches some new game on test and it's just something in the background, and it's he's got the eagle eye on that guy. So I mean, seems like the graphics are really nice. The reflections, from what I can tell here, also seem to be very accurate and nice, and it seems to be running at a smooth, buttery 60 frames a second. And so, yeah, this could be helping heat up the vehicular competition within the arcade market. I mean, since the pandemic started, arcade releases have been drastically reduced from where they had been. So it'll be nice to see more competition in that regard. Of course, there is Fast and Furious Arcade by Raw Thrills out there right now that just was launched, but everything that I've seen about that one is it's a very, very pricey machine, somewhere close to $30,000 per unit. And so if this can come in anywhere underneath that, and I assume it will be closer to $10,000, I don't know if it would be in the $7,000-8,000 range. I want to say the original Dead Heat was somewhere in the $7,000 to $8,000 range, but these days, given inflation and the costs of electronic components also having been inflated, I don't know if they'll be able to hit that price point. But again, something that I'll find out at IAPA, since I will be there. And if this isn't there for some reason, I'll still ask them about it and see if they can tell me anything. But again, I'm pretty sure this will be there. But what do you think about this? Is this a game that you look forward to playing? Is it, if you're an arcade operator, is this something that would interest you in grabbing for your arcade? How did the original Dead Heat do for you? So just let me know in the comments, and we'll catch you on the next video.